Got it. There's billing.
Okay. So I went ahead and posted the minutes in the chat for anyone who wants to keep track of them. I think they're currently on editing, and then I'll switch it to comment only after the meeting, which is a good compromise, I think.
And put the attendees on there, please.
Sorry, what?
Put the attendees on your minutes, please.
Oh, attendance this time?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
I don't see the link. Did you put that in earlier?
Yeah, I'll send it again. Give me just a second.
I can paste in some of these photos too, if you want
Yeah.
me to. It might be nice to have.
And I'll send the links again for people who like written stuff.
Evidence.
The canon will be used to support you.
That's fair. All right, I'm going to share my screen if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. That's a duplicate. So we'll put these in throughout, or you could add yourselves because I believe it's an editable link. This is just what I could copy paste. So I figured we'd start with the Grape hardware stuff for deployment and then discuss the other stuff we have on our agenda, including Grape 2, if that's all right. So, John, do you want to take it away?
You can tell I'm on vacation today. I figured I'd make the meeting anyway. The parts have been trickling in. I have the 15 Leo Bodnars, the cases, the audio cables, the SD cards, the power supplies, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I think pretty much everything I've ordered so far has come in. So I'll work early next week on getting those to Gary.
Nice.
But I think that's all I have for stuff that's come in.
For the hard drives, are we still planning on getting those on Amazon?
No, we're going to probably order those directly from Western Digital. There was a thread on there that some of them are probably not something you want to buy. A lot of the resellers, some of the resellers are pulling tricks that we don't want to be dealing with.
Okay.
So I
I
have not investigated that yet, so I have to order cases and power supply, or the cases with the power supplies and the hard drives yet.
Did you say that you have the SD cards? Oh, yes, I see.
Yeah, I do have the SD cards.
Okay.
And 15 of all.
All right. And that also checks that. And I heard right before the meeting started that the wall warts are arriving tomorrow.
I didn't order them, so I have no idea.
Oh.
I ordered them.
Yes. Well, that's what everyone is
Stamps.
chatting before the recording started.
Yeah.
Do you need to get reimbursed for those? Do you know how to get reimbursed for those?
I don't think we need to get reimbursed for them, but you could ask Bob.
Okay.
I think you ought to get reimbursed.
If you do, let me know. We can talk about that.
Okay, well, we can talk about it.
Okay, just
offline.
let me know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do have some sort of a, we do obviously have a budget, so for this. So
take that out of action. Let's see. And that's still
I'm
a
curious what you decided on for wall warts.
The triad WUD or something like that 100. It's the 100 milliamp triad supply. We evaluated that one and we evaluated a 500 mil Jameco, and there's no difference, and they work as well as the battery. So that's or they, you know, they don't work worse, is of course the idea. But so we went with the 100 mil triad.
It's a WDU, that's Whiskey Delta Uniform 9-100.
Very
Thank you,
good.
George.
Thanks.
So I'm looking at those, Bob, you guys were looking at the DC supply to see how clean it was in the output of the regulator, or looking at the plots, or how did you?
Well, what I'm looking at is the noise floor in the Grape.
Okay, okay,
And with a DC supply, or with a battery supply, and with the two AC supplies, and there's no difference. So
okay. Yeah, I was just wondering if I could repeat that here, but probably not. But okay, that's great.
well, you should be able to.
Well, it depends
Well-
how you're measuring the noise floor. I don't have any instrumentation, let's put it that way.
We use FL Digi
Uh,
in the spectrum view mode, and we kind of have a set up for the span and the sweep or the sensitivity, but puts the noise floor on screen, and then look at the thing. There's a lot of, I'll say, synchronous noise coming in, but the difference is that there's really no difference between the power supply and running it on a 9-volt battery. So
good, okay, thank you.
Let me just point out that if you look at the spectrum scope and FL Digi spectrum scope, and you compare it with what's coming into the SROD data analysis files, the dB reading is somewhat different.
Okay.
2300810.CSV. Yeah,
I don't know if everybody was on when we were showing the photo earlier, but you might show it again, Stan.
I'm putting the photos into the minutes right now, so
Oh, okay.
we'll actually like be there they're right at the bottom of the minutes.
That is a really nice job.
It's beautiful.
Oh, I also forgot to mention that the USB cards came as well. Now that I'm seeing it.
My setup doesn't look anywhere near that neat, but it's up and working, ready for testing. I apologize for being late, but the computer crashed right after I logged in.
I hate it when that happens.
As soon as I tried to log in this morning, I had to do an update as usual.
Oh, yay. Thank you, Microsoft.
Yeah,
Was actually the Zoom client updated itself. It always picks the worst possible time to do it.
Of course. That happens during emergencies too.
Yep, if you need it, it'll fail.
Who is the person So I see Bob is in the last photograph. Bob's on the right. Who's on the left?
It's Stan.
Peter Nordberg.
Oh,
Oh,
Peter,
Peter,
Oh, Peter Nordberg. Okay.
he is not on this morning. I did send him the link again.
Their way too.
No,
Do you know what's Peter Nordberg's call?
N1 ZRG.
ZRG.
so I'm looking at the analysis file for today, and it's reading -74, -74, -75, but the spectrum scope is reading about -81. So there is a difference there.
Okay, let me jump in. I heard John say when he was going through his a list of inventory there, you'd be you might, when you get everything together, you're gonna ship it to me. I thought that's what you said, John. I'm not sure what I would do with it. I don't know if that was a slip of the tongue or if we need to figure out where to ship
Oh, I
it.
thought everything was going through you. I can actually ship it to the New England Grape.
Yeah, that'd be more efficient. Yes, thanks.
That'll be next week, because I'm been on vacation most of this week.
Yeah, everything I've produced is electronic at this point, so electronic.
What, we do have some questions or something about how we're going to do this shipping. I mean, by that, I mean, are we gonna be given some number or something, so we just take it to somebody and ship it? Or are we gonna choose our own shipping?
I think there's,
Or-
if you're going to be shipping them directly to the other people, to the recipients, there's a good chance that I can probably get you a shipping number. The person who'd be coordinating that would be Celisa Brown. She's our department secretary here, and she's on vacation this week. But she'll be back next week.
She does a
And-
phenomenal job.
Yeah, she's very efficient, so.
Very
Um,
good.
yeah, so that's probably the way to do it.
Works for us, I think.
Okay, and if it
Now-
ends up being a different way, she's also the person we go through to get reimbursed on stuff.
Okay,
So I wanted to, as we're with the open issues, one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about is the FL Digi and the digital RF, because I know Stan sent me an email and I think there's still some concern about that. And I want to see if we can talk about it to try to make it less concerning or have a better plan.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because that's probably the one thing we don't have a good handle on at the moment.
Okay, so, Stan, my understanding right now is you and the group are concerned that the digital RF image basically is not ready for prime time. Is that,
Well, the concern is that there's no user feedback in it.
okay,
It is not comparable at all to the original FL Digi concept. So the
Okay.
user gets, the user gets nothing out of it.
so when it runs, because I haven't personally run it, when it runs, the waterfall doesn't show up at all, you get nothing?
Well, the GNU radio waterfall is not like FL Digi waterfall. It's a small, relatively, well, you can make it as big as you want, but it's a very slow moving, inflexible, at least as far as I know, waterfall.
Can
Yeah.
you
It
add the,
pre-programs, it decides what the scale is going to be and whatever.
can you
Right.
add the spectrum itself? An actual spectral display?
Now, my understanding, so the thing with GNU Radio is it is a very flexible, open source piece of software that can really be, that if you know what you're doing and you have the time, you can make it do whatever you want. So the two big things there are knowing what you're doing and having the time. That's the challenge. Now, what I
Well,
wonder
I
is,
might be able to get you some example code if you're interested, because for our AM Doppler project, our monitor gives a waterfall and a spectral display, and
I'd
it's
be more
using GNU Radio.
I would also be interested in trying to identify an individual who has the time and the knowledge to be able to just to work on this problem. So the example code's appreciated, but I'd really like to try to identify someone who could actually make that their responsibility. And I know
Dermot has this expertise. I don't know if he has the time, but he has the expertise.
right, and so that's, and I agree with that. So Tom McDermott has tremendous amount of GNU Radio expertise. And there's also another person on the Clementine Tangerine project named Franco, where we needed a module to convert the KA9Q radio into GNU Radio. And he was able to write in a GNU Radio out of tree module in like, I don't know, 2 days or something like that. It was kind of ridiculous. There was nothing that existed 1 week and all of a sudden we had this piece of software. So there are people that can do it. Would Gary, do you think you could ask some of those people either if they could do it or if they know someone who might be willing? And, if not, maybe we, go to the general ham-sci list again and try to recruit someone, because we have over 800 people on that list that have all signed up for some reason. And a lot of people don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But some of them have these skills.
Right, no, that makes a lot of sense.
And the thing is, we have a very concrete thing that needs to be done. We do have a working digital RF image. We do have working grapes. We do have we know what we want in terms of the output with FL. We like that waterfall FL Digi real-time feedback. And we also Bill Engelke does have some example code that will actually produce daily summary plots. So if we can get someone who can kind of tie all this together, I think that will help alleviate some of the concern.
What would be helpful would be for if somebody could take the GRC, that is the GNU Radio flow graph that I'm running now, and give some advice simply on how to add a real-time display that updates more frequently than the existing one that I have that updates. I mean, it's based on the number of samples per second. So, I mean, really all we need to do, I think, is add something to the flow graph we've got rather than develop something new.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is we
different waterfall module or a
Yeah.
fixed one. Yeah.
or a spectral
I think-
display module.
It probably
I think
wouldn't be
I think we have most of the puzzle pieces. I think they just need to be, we may have to find one or two more puzzle pieces, but I think we need someone who can spend time pulling it together and finding the missing pieces.
Chances are anybody who's gonna work on that development would want a working grape sitting in front of them, I would think.
Yes, definitely.
Well, you can simulate it even within GNU Radio by creating a signal source and feeding it into the input. I mean, you can test the whole.
You could start with that, which is good, but I think for this to really happen, I think we really need to get them a real system as soon as possible.
Well, as soon as we get the parts,
Yes.
shouldn't, I mean, we're we're getting close.
Yeah, and it
We
sounds
aren't,
like the
we aren't,
parts,
if the truth be known, we're not ready yet, but we're
You're
a day or
close.
so
close.
away.
and it sounds like the parts are close as well, so.
Yeah, so
You should
I
have the
mean-
parts in hand probably by Wednesday.
we're gonna send them to anybody Gary gives us a name and address for.
I feel like by the time Gary can identify someone who'd be willing to take on this task and we get them oriented, that it's gonna take that same amount of time to more or less get you the parts and, you know, kind of get all that squared away.
I have a working system, but I really don't have much programming experience. But if I could work with somebody, I'm available.
That's wonderful.
I'm sure you'd find plenty of beta testers.
Even the alpha testers.
If anyone on this call feels like they have the time and the experience, because I know some people aren't, are just listening, you know, feel free to speak up. And if you don't feel like you have the time or the experience, that's totally fine too.
Well, I'll take a quick look and see if I can do something quickly as far as adding the spectrum display. And then I'll send out a couple of copies of a couple of flow graphs for people to take a look at.
Yeah,
The spectrum display is something in GNU radio I have not worked with, but it's very. it's
Yeah,
certainly
well,
impressive.
I can tell you it's in there.
Oh,
see
I
if I
don't doubt it's in there.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying we use that in our interface. It's a standard item, and it's just absolutely invaluable to knowing what your noise source is, whether it's broadband, whether it's spectral lines, whatever. Because you can see the noise floor.
Yeah, otherwise you're recording something, you have no idea what's going into it, which is not a good thing. Bill, is there anything else you need from me? Bill Engelke.
Probably not right at this moment.
Okay.
And those Raspberry Pis came on schedule last week.
Yes.
Okay. Did the SD cards also got shipped there? Or are we still, is that still future?
I think I got a couple of those as well.
Yep.
Okay. Any updates on station selection?
No, I've definitely got a few more commitments from people last week. I'm up to, I think 9 or 10 solid commitments for the full stations. A few people are assembling their own, and the only thing that they really need help with is a supply of just the Grape itself. So, like I said, we should be able to ask the guys in New England to ship out, I'm thinking 14 complete systems. Maybe we'll keep one as a spare. But there's above and beyond that, there's a couple of people that just need the Grape PC board, and they're capable of taking on the rest of it. So I know we ordered 25 sets of parts. I was kind of hoping we'd get 20 circuit boards built, and then that way we'd have a few spares.
Okay, just so I can get it off the list, has Mike's node been updated yet? This is actually more of a
Yeah,
John
I've been having email exchanges with Mike, and it looks like the version of the Grape distribution is really old because he doesn't have the transfer stuff on it. I was going to talk to he's on here somewhere. My man just went blank.
Dave's on the call.
Thank you. Sorry, Dave. It's not afternoon yet. We might want to try and get him a new image because he doesn't have the X for on, X for off commands in his thing to do the transfers. So I'm guessing the image he has is probably at least one, if not two revs old. Was that one ever updated? I guess I'm presuming it was not.
Let me move that down here.
You there, Dave?
Well,
That's okay. Oh,
I don't, my image, I don't know. It's been running stably for a good
No,
long
no,
time.
wrong Dave.
Oh, sorry.
WODAS, Dave. Out in Colorado. Must have stepped away from the monitor.
okay. I'm gonna put it on the other issues list because it's been on there for a few
I
weeks.
think
And
if we just re-image his card, re-enter the data, and he's
Act.
good to go. And save the data he's got. Although he hasn't been running that long, but there's Dave.
Were you looking for me?
Yes, I was. The image that Mike Lombardi is running seems to be old because he doesn't have the transfer on, transfer off commands. So it's not doing the transfer. And he tried running it, it wasn't defined. So I'm guessing he's got an older image of the Grape.
Yeah,
Can we get him re-imaged with the new image?
well, can't he download the image and burn it to a SIM card?
He could do that. Certainly the directions are there how to do it. If he could do that.
So he had I don't know what version of the directions he's got. And when he originally did things, everything was set up fine. So I don't know what the problem was, but
Because it's saying that the XRON is not recognized by bash, which means it's not in the dot.
right. I saw the email thread. I think you should just burn a new image and reconfigure and go from the beginning, because this
That would
doesn't
be
take that
the
long.
easiest, probably the easiest, rather than try and debug it, because we're going to have to update it anyway if we figure out it's old.
The image needs updated probably. Yeah.
Yeah, so
He essentially hasn't submitted any data. So this would be, I think it makes sense to restart it and not try to struggle with this.
yeah, I think it does too.
Okay.
okay, just checking with one last like old business thing. Dr. Frizzell, did you manage to talk with Steve Serwin and everyone about?
Yes, we decided that we're gonna go with the 10 megahertz, pretty much because everyone can see 10 megahertz during the day. We're at a higher point in the solar cycle. We want to maximize for the possibility of getting data at all.
Perfect.
Steve's still very interested in 5 megahertz, but I think for the purpose of this deployment right now, for a single frequency, we're going to stick with 10 megahertz.
Yes, that is not surprising. I wanted to make sure everyone who needed to be checked
There
with.
was the discussion yesterday of if 10 megahertz is not acceptable, which direction to go. 5, I don't think works well. I know it was someone up in the Ottawa area. 5 isn't going to propagate, but 15 does, and you'd see 15 drop out rather than 5 come in.
Yeah, and I mean, the truth of the matter is, like, each station, I think we're gonna recommend 10 megahertz, and we send all of these things configured out to 10 megahertz, and we're going to encourage people to just stick with 10 megahertz. But again,
Even if it's polluted.
well, I was gonna give it a but. So the but is that each operator really knows their particular QTH the best. They know their RF environment the best. So if they feel that their RF environment is polluted, or 10 megahertz, for whatever reason 10 megahertz is not working, by all means, and they think another band is working better, by all means make a judgment call and switch to the other band. So that they should try to optimize for the best for what they think is best. Now, if the operator, of course, it's all very operator dependent. Some people are going to be comfortable changing settings on the software and making adjustments and checking things. And there's probably going to be some people who are just appliance operators who just plug it in. They can't, they're going to be more limited in the troubleshooting. So hopefully, we can get these out, a few weeks before the eclipse so that people have a chance to really get them set up and get them running, to see what actually works.
Isn't it up in Ottawa, Canada, which case both WWV and his station is way north of the eclipse in October? And are they going to see any effect?
I would expect they should see some effect.
Well, it may be that
because
maybe
thing to
the
remember
eclipse
is-
path is where it'll bounce off of.
The
And that's
thing
why I'm
to
saying
remember too is you have partial eclipses covering pretty much all of North America. So just
Correct.
because you're not in the path of annularity doesn't mean your ionosphere is not going to be affected in some way.
even we up in New England get a partial. But yeah, the point is that I'm trying to make is that you'd have a lot of attenuation at 5 megahertz still during the eclipse. But the propagation of 15 would be most likely to change. But yeah, the Ottawa may be very interesting because I'll bet the eclipse path is somewhat at the midpoint, but on the propagation.
Isn't the eclipse path like through Texas? Way down south?
Well, which
Well,
one?
it starts in Oregon.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about the one in October, not the.
Yeah, it starts in Oregon, goes down through Texas. But
Oh.
it's all of the western part, and doesn't it go to the east of WWV?
No, it's west.
Oh, it actually
I
goes
see,
west
yeah.
of.
Yeah.
It does go west, okay.
Yeah.
We were discussing that
But-
yesterday and I thought it went east of Denver.
Yeah,
or,
but as Nathaniel says, that the whole country gets at least a partial.
Yeah, it's going to create a big TID.
The path of the eclipse goes from Four Corners area, almost at a 45-degree angle down to Texas.
Oh, there
And
you
it
go.
ultimately will be east of WWV if you're looking at the,
Right.
at the longitude. So, and it goes all the way down into Central America and South America.
By the way, there is a 10 megahertz station in, is it Brazil? Yeah, it's Brazil. It's in Portuguese.
What does 10 megahertz sound like in Portuguese? Is this the same in English?
It sounds incomprehensible. Somewhat garbled. But I actually do hear that station up here at times.
We'll have to design a translator.
But I was able to figure it out because it did not sound like Spanish, but it was close. And then I realized, oh yeah, that's the Brazilian station. It also has a very distinctive beep every 10 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Question for John. John, if I swap out the 2 inductors in the 2.5 megahertz path for my original Grape and swap in the 2 for 15 megahertz from the Grape 112, would that be okay? Would that work?
Yes, that will work. Make sure the capacitor values are the same too for the Grape 2 design. Because
Let me see, 270 and 2200.
Yeah. Okay.
And 270 and 2200.
Yeah. Yeah. If the
Okay, so I can do that. Okay.
That's all that has to change. So yes, you are correct. Swap those out. You need to move it up to 15.
Okay, sounds like a plan to me.
Maybe with the New England Grape Group building 25 of those units, maybe you could have them send you one of the built units. Since they have they got 10 extras.
Well, if there's extras, save me the work of
Yeah.
changing things. But they need to get those to the people who don't have anything first.
which is 15, if I believe right, so they should have 10 extra boards.
Okay,
You
Well,
know
it'll
it?
be 15 plus a couple more. Like I said, a couple people just want a grape and they'll take care of everything else. So.
So I guess the question to the New England Grape Group is, do you have an extra board you could ship to?
Are we talking a built board or a?
Billboard, yes.
Well,
Are you building all 25 or are you just building?
no, we haven't built all 25.
Oh, okay.
But we do have a few spares that we kind of,
Oh, I understand.
but
Yeah,
well, if this is out of scope, as we would say. But we could probably put a couple together and get them out.
it sounds like you only need one.
Well, who,
It was, I believe, Joe W7LUX. Is that correct? Did I get it right?
yep, sure
Oh,
did. And
okay.
I can put one of these things together in half a day. But I'd have to go order all the parts. I can order
do
all the
you
parts.
do you want a board built or a board?
Well, if you're mass producing, I'm gonna appreciate a board build, but save me the time, but I can certainly put one together.
Well, we can spare one, I'm sure.
I think this should go through Gary because I think his list comes first.
Right. Right.
Yeah, the other
Yeah.
people, I have a working grape for 10 megahertz, 2.5, 5, and 10. I was just going ahead and delete the 2.5 and put in 15. That's a relatively simple thing.
I'll leave it up to
That-
you how you want to go. I'll let you work it out with the.
But I've got 2 working grapes here.
Yeah, I wouldn't, let's let the New England group hang on to what they've got because I'm still getting still got requests out for people and still getting answers from people. So I don't know our final count yet. So I'm a little leery about letting anything out of the bag.
Yeah, there is a question in the chats from Todd80RR. So is the board still available to just buy plain?
On OSH Park, yes. The link is
Perfect.
still be
That was the
valid.
question.
Yeah.
All right.
If it isn't, I want to know about it. It should be valid.
Cool. Anything else on the Grape 1 for deployment?
If we get a minute at the end, I'll show the map of the stations versus the eclipse pads and stuff, since everybody's interested in that. Let's get to the more important stuff first.
I would be interested in that.
Yeah.
Want
And
me to
also-
share that?
There should be open edit access in the minutes right now. So if you'd like, you can paste it up here.
Okay,
And snap.
you try and do that.
A second. Because the only other in the next 18 minutes, most of what else we have is the Grape 2 updates. Are there any updates on the Grape 2? John?
Oh, I guess that was a cue. I'm still.
It's okay.
Yeah, I built the 3 RF decks. I found one layout problem, which I have fixed. Right now they are built such that the mixer chip, the SA612, is not in, so I can separate all the RF front end and put it on a spectrum or network analyzer, and then I can inject a signal into the audio out of the mixer and test the entire audio path. And in doing so, I've discovered that there is low gain on the audio path, and I'm in the process of figuring that out now, which should probably just be either, I'm not sure, wrong part, something. But once that is tested and I verify both with the network analyzer and the spectrum analyzer the gains of the parts, I'm going to pull the trigger on getting the boards made, which will be 50 boards. And then I move on to doing the final test on the control board And once that's happy, I'm going to pull the trigger on that as well. So it's coming along nicely. The software is moving along very nicely. Bill has actually got the Pico talking to the Raspberry Pi, and in the process of adding the ability to, on the fly, verify the checksum of the 1 second block of data. And if it's good, store it to a files or the files. If it's bad, we do a NAC and get a retransmission. It looks like we have enough bandwidth in the communication channel to be able to pull that off, but we're going to be doing testing on that. But things are moving ahead. Kung has done some very nice work for some diagnostic software for David Kasdan to be able to test his frequency determination algorithm. So that's in progress. Other than that, I haven't been doing much. Back to net.
And Kung, did you want to add anything to that? Or to the software updates? I know we are having issues with the antennas situation.
So thankfully, John and Bill and we resolved all the issues. So I'm able to install GNU plug with no problem now. I'm not exactly sure what we did differently for that part, but it's working now, so I won't be complaining. And the antenna, the GPS antenna, I'm getting GPS lock with no problem now. So that's good news. So I can move on to actually working on the software.
We stuck it on his top of his air conditioner on the outside of the window.
Yeah.
Sudden boom, it worked.
That's cool.
Perfect. Okay, so all good news there. Station selection is mostly the same. Gary, did you want to show that map or send me a link to it? I can put it up here.
Let me show it because I can't find it at the, I mean, I know where it's at buried in another file. So let me, I can do a share screen. Let me turn off the share that.
Yeah, I will. Yep.
Someone's going to have to stop sharing their screen.
Yeah, it just has a new share option. Oh, it's up here at the top. Yep, there we go.
Okay. How much is are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I don't know whether these silly Zoom menus show up or not, but anyhow, this is a fairly crude map, but the letters represent the stations that we'll be receiving during the 2 eclipses. So you can see there's a slew of stations out west, which are opposite WWV over through the eclipse path. So that's part of it. There's a slew of stations along the East Coast and partial in the south that are on the other side of the full eclipse in April. And there's a few stations that are kind of in between, scattered throughout and whatnot. So just to give a rough idea of where we've got people. And WWV, I know Dave Schwartz is a big player in all this because that's kind of our control station, right? That's our ground wave signal from WWV that we wouldn't expect much eclipse effect, but
yeah, Dave is kind of key for our reference point. So
as a matter of fact,
my 10 megahertz station is recording right now. I've moved it to about 2.5 miles from WWV.
Wow.
And so if you take a look at node 16, John, you can look at those graphs, right?
Right.
So take a look at node 16. The receiver's in a garage, and I've noticed that there's some signal strength differences. I think when they open and close the garage door of my friend's house. So take a look at it. There are a couple blips in the data, and it might be nice to just sort of scrutinize it just a little bit, but it's a pretty flat straight line as you'd expect.
You You say it's node 16.
Node 16.
So that's an FL Digi node, obviously. I was thinking about sending one of the complete systems with GNU Radio DRF format also to the exact same area. So we've got, again, since it's just a key location, I want to make sure we've got kind of it pretty well covered.
I think that's a really good idea.
I'm also, John, you were on the call on Tuesday, and I mentioned that Wellington Middle High School is very interested in getting involved in amateur radio. And they're very excited about the fact that WWV is literally 2 miles from their high school. And so you mentioned the possibility of hosting, or those guys hosting the Grape.
Yep.
I'm about to take off for 6 weeks on the road, and so I will still be able to coordinate from afar, but we might want to talk to them and see if I think they would like to have, you know, a receiver there, and that would be really kind of a very good signal. And
That's a double win.
well, it'd be a win for the school, but it would also be a very close signal. I don't know, almost too close. So I don't know if we have to have some distance from WWV or not.
We just have a lousy antenna. That, I mean, just makes the antenna requirement a lot easier. So
Right, that little 6-inch whip that Jeff Sherman showed us on Tuesday.
probably all
But anyhow, that might be an appropriate thing to do too. The thing I ran into a problem before, and I'll start breaking the ice on this a little bit, is getting the school district to allow a Raspberry Pi that is, you know, a Raspberry Pi onto their secure network.
Right.
And to be able to upload the data. And that was a problem before, but if I get in touch with IT, hopefully by October 1st, we could do that. Otherwise, we could place, Gary, like you said, the GNU radio, where I've got the radio right now. We could easily add to it, and that's about 3 miles from WWV.
Okay, good. Well, we got Fort Collins pretty well covered. We've got a couple of different irons in the fire, so that makes me feel good.
Okay. And I went ahead and threw a screenshot of your map into the minutes. It's not a good one. Like later. Any other updates on Grape 2 type stuff? Okay. I did want to check in. If it's all right. I'm gonna go back to sharing on. There we go. The FL Digi Raspberry Pi for the Grape original. So we talked about that last week a little bit. John, is this, I guess, just where are you on this one?
I have not looked at it yet.
That is fair. Okay. And
I don't know how deep of a rabbit hole that's going to be. So it may be easy, it may not. I don't know. I haven't tried it yet.
that is completely fair also. It is, I feel.
If it's not a deep rabbit hole, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get it.
If it's going to derail the rest of the Grape 1 deployment, then I'd rather not. I don't want that to be a contentious view. But
well, we've got to be careful too, because some of these people are putting together their own stations, and if they're buying a brand new Raspberry Pi,
yeah, they're going to be in trouble.
That's fair.
Yeah. But if we go the DRF route, we'll have an updated image. So I mean, we may or may not have an issue. So yeah, now that I think about it, since we want the new stations going online to have the GNU Radio DRF thing, hopefully that's all going to be worked out as part of that.
Okay. And then also last week, or perhaps the week before, I didn't add the date to this one, we talked about doing website updates.
Yeah, I haven't started that yet. I need to get into looking at that.
That's also fair.
Christina originally doing that, or has that always been Gary?
Well, we kind of transferred. The Christina maintained the Grape stuff for the first 2 or 3 years. And I did a lot of cleanup and reorganization probably 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah. Which was great and much needed.
So now I've got to go through and I review that and make sure that everything is either fresh or not too terribly stale.
So turn from a grape juice to a Marlowe.
Yeah, well, as long as it doesn't go all the way to vinegar, we're all right.
Okay. I'm gonna mark this one as in progress. In that case, I think we've gotten through everything that could be considered old business. Does anyone have anything else that they'd either like to discuss or announce to the group?
I may not be on the telecon this afternoon, because I have an appointment. And I also have a report that is due imminently.
Oh, boy.
Gary, you have any questions for me that you might need for this afternoon? I can answer now.
No, I don't think so. We don't have a very full agenda this afternoon, so we'll be okay, I think.
Yeah, I know we're still thinking about that whole PAQP thing. So
Yeah, I think, we can keep that in the background for the moment. It's while we do have you on the line, you and Rachel, did you guys decide what you're gonna do with Rachel's time so far as the AGU for the fall meeting?
I am not going to AGU, so sorry. I can maybe do a little bit of helping for other people who are going to AGU.
I think Rachel, you focus on your quals and your school stuff, and focus on if you focus on the HF Doppler review.
Yeah.
We need to schedule a telecon with Kate Zoddy too to get going with that. Oh, and Rachel, did you get my email about the ham site workshop?
Yes, and I would love to be part of that.
Wonderful. So that answers that question. So yeah. So I think if you do all of those things by next AGU, you'll have plenty to talk about.
Yeah. Gary, are you going to AGU? I think there's a discussion of that, right?
Yeah,
there was discussion, but we never got the abstract in or pulled together. So I think if it's okay, Gary, we'll just sit out this time and then maybe next year it might make more sense.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, there's also other opportunities, like either it might be better to go to CEDAR, or we can use those resources to help support you at Hamvention, or there will be other opportunities, I think.
No, that's great. I'm okay with that 100%.
Wonderful.
Okay. Are you still taking a Scranton team?
Yeah, I have a couple of Scranton students going, but they're really not related to the eclipse so much. They're more related to my traveling ionospheric disturbance projects, and there's one student that is doing some chirp sounder stuff. So I'll be giving 2 talks on the eclipses there. Steve Serwin's going to be going. And Bill Engelkey will also be there. So it'll be Bill Engelkey, Steve Serwin.
The power hitters.
We've got there'll be some representation of, I think Jonathan Rizzo is going to give a virtual talk on his VLF, so he's not going, but I think he'll be presenting virtually. Hyomin's going to be, I'm not sure if Hyomin is going, but he has an abstract in about the ground magnetometer, so someone will present to that, whether it's a student or with him. But yeah, I think from the eclipse side of things, I'm giving 2 talks. Steve Serwin is going to be giving a talk related to the eclipse. Bill Engelkey is going to be giving a presentation, but his presentation is going to be more on traveling ionospheric disturbances than on the eclipses.
Sounds like you have a good plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then next year, after the eclipses take place, then we'll have more to say about the eclipses. the other thing that's interesting is Gareth is working on hiring a postdoc to work on the Solar Eclipse QSO Party project. Don't know when that person will be in place. There's a good chance that that person will go to AGU, although they probably would be talking about whatever they were talking about before, not about the eclipse. So, but whoever that is, they'd probably be there just because they were going anyway.
I did think of one question regarding the SEQP, Nathaniel. So the scoring committee got together a few days ago and Adarsh is writing code and this and that and the other thing. And just because I don't have any knowledge in this area, should we have, I would think we'd be wanting to keeping that stuff up on GitHub or something like that, so it's available and it's backed up and that sort of thing. Is that, that makes?
So I think what I can do is I can create a new HamSci repository for the SCQP for the 2023 and 2024 SCQPs. And yeah, I think you can put it up there.
Okay, that's all we needed. From we know it will be available eventually, so that's fine.
Yeah, Gary, do you have a GitHub repo or a GitHub user name?
Yes.
What is it?
I guess I gotta look it up. Till I never use it.
Well, send it to me, and then what I can do is I can add you. If you can get me the names, get me the usernames of all the people who need to be on that repo, and then I will add them.
Perfect.
Do I need to be on that?
No.
Okay.
No, that's for Solar Eclipse QSO Party scoring.
Oh, okay.
So those would be the GitHub usernames.
Yes.
Gotcha. Will do.
Thank you.
Let's put party. Okay.
The SEQSO when I first glanced at it, I thought it said Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Wow, we're really getting into some deep stuff here.
Okay, any other discussion, questions, comments, concerns, or announcements? I will point out the HamSci conference is going to be in Cleveland this year at Case. And I believe the dates are settled to March 22 and 24 through 24th. I'll definitely check that getting closer.
Gary, we just got an email from West Point. They want to host the Grape also.
West Point, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, West Point.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, you should definitely help hook them up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, they had a
Colonel Laux and Colonel Hamilton are definitely they are definitely leaders in the field. Yeah.
They have a
And
great
so, yeah, Jason Dare, he's I think a postdoc or research. He's either a rotator or a research professor or postdoc there now. He just got there. And then Colonel Laux and Colonel Hamilton are the permanent people.
Yeah, I remember Jason was at the workshop back in March.
Yes.
Yeah, give me the info. I'll follow up with them for sure.
Great. They just emailed you and me. So
okay, good.
East side as well.
Okay, any outstanding questions, comments, concerns, discussion, announcements?
Down the road, I may ask the New England Grape Group for some help on mechanical packaging of the Grape 2, because right now it's going into the case, but one end is open for cabling. And the Grape Raspberry Pi, the Raspberry Pi is not inside the case, so I might ask for some ideas from since they did such a nice job with the Grape 1. So, but that's down the road. That's not business for any time in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Should probably monitor how many typos I have at the beginning of the meeting versus the end of the meeting.
Well, I got you beat.
Yeah, and as always, if you have updates and things, you can throw them in the minutes before the meeting as well. So, any other questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, there's a question in the chat that says, just curious, does the GRAPE happen to be an acronym for for anything? I don't think it originally did, but Mike Rahanami came up with a backronym for it, which is the Grape Radio Amateur Propagation Experiment.
Oh, cool. I like it.
That's the Grape Radio Amateur. So if everyone likes that, maybe we can start including that on the website.
Yeah.
Is that great
Nice.
or great?
I guess it could be the
Could be
Grape. Could be either. It depends if you want to use a recursive backronym or just a regular backronym.
We'd like it to be recursive.
A recursive backronym.
Spoken like a true math major.
Well, I'll let
Your math is showing there, Rachel.
That's a
Now
great
someone has to
acronym.
come up with a backronym for the clementine or the tangerine.
Well, that's to answer the guy's question, whoever asked the question, the original one was tangerine, and we had to come up with another kind of fruit that was there, and that we ended up using the grape. We were thinking about the kiwi was used, tangerine was already used. We didn't want to use prune, so we decided to go with grape. So that's sort of how it happened.
Is the ground magnetometer stations officially called pairs now? I've been seeing that on updates.
Yeah, we've been calling them pairs.
No, those
There's
are
two boards. There's an inside board and an outside board, and they're a pair. So
yeah, the Grape 2 has the magnetometer interface incorporated in it, and I'm planning on. That's what I was going to ask. Can we get any of the new magnetometer boards from Tapper, so I can try the new ones?
Yes, we can get you some of those.
Yeah, I think I'd like to get probably at least 4. So I got one installing here, and I'm going to ship a couple around. So
Okay. Can you send? Well,
you want something?
does that send me an email, or can that be a next week thing?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Wonderful.
Emergency. I have it working with the original board, but I had to do a solder jump for the paralleling the +5 power to get rid of the interrupt line.
Yeah, it'll be easier to work that out once Salisa and Majid get back.
Yeah, I understand.
By the way, the backronym is good. Yeah, it's good in good history with Steve, how they figured out a backronym for that.
I think I like the idea of changing it to Grape Radio, an amateur propagation experiment.
Yeah, great works.
You like great or great?
GREAT.
Great. Yeah. Well, you can have the official acronym, and then you can have the unofficial acronym.
There you go.
So there's that too.
I just have to say it's all beyond raisin.
Oh. That just gives me wrinkles on my forehead.
By the way, we've got a major smoke plume here
Ooh.
in the northeast again.
Yeah.
Our sun is yellow,
From
orange.
again.
Yeah, those damn Canadians keep exporting their smoke.
Yeah, we're getting Cleveland.
Wrong.
Smell it. It has a bit of an acrid smell to it, and it makes my throat hurt.
I just
And
think
if you have strong preference on the acronym, should vote now in the minutes.
Okay.
well, we sent the Canadians our acid rain for all those years, so they're just getting back with us, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, yeah, and we now have I think we have our complete science program committee assembled for the ham site workshop. So the people on the science program committee, so there's like 2 committees. There's the ones that are focused more on the science and program, and there's another committee that is focused more on the general logistics. So on the science program committee side, we have myself, Christina Collins, Jesse Alexander, Rachel Bodeker, Gareth Perry, Phil Erickson, Bill Lyles, and Gary McKeaton.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's a pretty good, and certainly if anyone has any suggestions, or would like to be, somewhat more involved, just let us know and we'll be happy to involve you. But I have a positive response back from all those people. I gave Christina the template for writing the grant earlier this week, so hopefully we'll make progress on getting that pulled together for the NSF grant.
Hey, Rachel, I cannot vote.
Oh, can you not?
No, it says no vote with plus
No,
sign.
Sorry, what?
I'm trying to click on the
Oh.
grate and it says,
It
no,
editables.
I added
Change
my name already, so it's edible. Edible,
editable.
edible.
It
It's
is the grape is edible.
Yes.
Yeah, anyone with the link should be an editor.
It's
Maybe
not-
that's the problem though. Maybe non-editors are the ones that can vote. I don't know.
If I change to viewing, can I still vote? No, I can't. Wait, but that's just changed to viewing.
Says I can change the emoji before the first vote.
I'm gonna say 73 because I have a report to write.
This is very much not important business.
Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, everyone, have a great day.
Yeah, I agree. I think for the public facing forum, I think the Grape is the one to put on the website. But I think we as a group can all call it the Grape radio amateur. Yeah. All right, thanks everybody.
Keep saying grape over and over.
Oh, wait, is there an official or preferred media contact for interviews / podcasts from Grape?
So we
Yes,
do
there it
have,
is.
yeah, I'll let Gary answer that.
Yeah, we've got a public information officer, Ed WX2R. And there's also an email address, pressrelations@hamside.org. It's one word, press relations. So that should work.
All right. Relations@hamside.org.
Pressrelations@hamside.org.
Perfect. That's in the
Thank you.